introduce Professor Julie Reche, who is widely considered to be the star of her generation. She just completed her PhD a couple years ago, and already she's considered and being cited by top psychoanalysts. She is perhaps one of the more creative minds in psychoanalysis in several generations. And we're pleased to have her as our director of the GCAS, the Global Center for Advanced Studies, Institute for Psychoanalysis. She also teaches classes in philosophy and neuroscience, which is part of this program as well. She's widely known in Russia, and is really somewhat of a superstar in Russia, and travels a lot and gives lectures. She's also publishing. So her forthcoming book is being written as we speak. And let me record. Sorry.
Or taking classes. This is not an exchange of some doctrines. It is a dialogue, because those books, philosophical books, they criticize previous ideas or some existing perception of the world, and this is how philosophers engage in this productive dialogue, the result of which is philosophy. So it's never a final doctrine, but rather a dialogue itself. And philosophers, they usually reread or critical about other philosophers and habitual worldview that exists. So in my conceptualization, it's called perverting the concept. You read them in a different way. You don't follow some doctrine. So in substance, the same is with science, because the same motion that constitutes science, it constitutes philosophy. But the difference is that science has to verify its hypothesis. So philosophy just presents some hypothesis, and science does the same, but it has to verify its hypothesis. And both science and philosophy, in their underlying motion, are opposed to mysticism. They do not postulate some final truth. They just explore the world and question the world and find some new understanding, some new concepts, new meanings, new ideas. So, and how does it relate to psychoanalysis, philosophy? From its origin, psychoanalysis is a part of philosophy and is a science. And Freud wanted to be a philosopher, and he questioned the existed theories and elaborated his own radically new understanding of the human, of society, and the psychoanalytic therapy that he developed was the embodiment of this understanding. And it's true that many adepts of psychoanalysis, they do not actually participate in this motion of philosophy and science, and it's largely now it's mystified sphere. So what I mean is that if one perceives Freud's ideas as complete doctrine and perceives Freud as someone who revealed final truths about human being or society, and if you don't argue with Freud, if you don't question Freud himself, you don't participate in a movement of what constitutes psychoanalysis. And Freud, Freud's doctrine was really advanced for his time, and Freud was really advanced scientist for his time, but and a really bold thinker. But within perspective of today's scientific knowledge, most of psychoanalytic traditional Freudian theories are considered irrelevant. And it doesn't mean that Freud wasn't the scientist. He just was scientist of his time, and he built his theory on something was known at his time. And it doesn't mean that we have to renounce psychoanalysis, because Freud's doctrine is Freud's ideas and theories. It's not actually something that constitutes psychoanalysis. Rather, at the heart of psychoanalysis is his boldness of thinking. And Freud's ideas for his time were new and provocative and challenging, and challenging the existing theories at his time. challenging the existing understanding of the human at his time. But Freud always doubted his own ideas. He was always in constant dialogue with himself and with others, and he constantly repeated that science of the future has to prove or disprove his hypothesis. So this is really scientific understanding of what has to be done. And this is how he was a scientist and a philosopher, participating in this motion of questioning and challenging existing theories and providing science with some challenging hypotheses that it tries to prove or disprove. And the more challenging it is, the better science works. Either it doesn't matter if science will disprove it or prove it. It's just challenging and questioning. And this means that we ourselves now today are more Freudians when we criticize Freud's ideas and when we elaborate our own research on the basis of his ideas, and not when we idolize Freud and when we claim that we revealed some final truths in his doctrine. And this is basically what we're going to do in two of my classes that I'm going to teach for this program. And the first one called What is Love Made Of? And this class will challenge Freud's understanding of love and intimacy as based on sexual instinct, and his concept in general, his concept of human being as led by sexual drive. And I will rely on socio-cognitive neurobiology that revealed that the basic need of human being is not sexual instinct, but just pure interest, need in others, attachment to others, which is quite independent of sexuality, but sexuality depends on it and it's secondary in relation to it. So we just desperately need each other, and including the recognition of others that we need, and bodies of others in many ways, including sexual drive. But this sexual drive is not the basic need of humans. And the second class is called Child Trauma Love. And what we will discuss is that popular version of psychoanalysis gets it wrong when claims that we have to, and popular psychology when they claim that we have to heal our traumas, that what we have to do with traumas and with person, and when they present the ideal of human life and human psyche as untraumatized. The problem is that it's not possible. The traumatized human and psyche is something that only dead human might have, and the development of personality is the neurosis. This is how it developed. It developed through traumatization, psychological traumatization. And the same is with relationship with others. It presupposes emotional pain, and it doesn't work without this mechanism that involves emotional pain. So we are traumatized from childhood, and well, this is who we are. And about the, so you can choose, probably Kristen will tell you that you have to choose, I think, 4 topic seminars. I will have 2, I will teach 2, and you can choose any 4 you want. So, and the other thing that we have in this program is the option of individual training, 6 individual sessions, and this means that you will go through individual trainings with me or other practicing psychoanalysts. And if it's me, I will introduce the modified version of psychoanalytic therapy. And my basic idea that I practice is combination of philosophy and psychoanalysis, the variant of therapy where psychoanalysts and those who are psychoanalyzed, they engage in this Socratic dialogue. So what they do is philosophy, and this kind of therapy turns out to be more effective in many ways in comparison with the pop psychology therapy that pop psychology offers, and traditional version of psychoanalysis, because first of all, a traditional version implicitly suggests this unchangeable and unreachable ideal of human life, that we have to be happy, constantly happy, we have to be untraumatized, but and it's quite repressive because it imposes, even if it's implicitly, these ideals, and this ideal is unreachable, so it's even more traumatizing than traumatized person, because proclaim that people have to be happy, but it's impossible to be happy all the time. So imposing this idea or claiming this ideal is the embodiment of it is possible, even sometimes traumatizes people more. And this kind of therapy, this modified version of psychoanalysis, it does something better because it helps to open a new perspective for those who are psychoanalyzed. So just a dialogue, Socratic dialogue, philosophical dialogue, but where they question their own perspective and we elaborate a new perspective, and it quite liberates because it gives fresh air, and a new perspective is not imposed; it's developed in a dialogue. And I have this strong feeling that people actually this is what they're looking for when they're asking for help, when they think they need psychoanalytical help, because even if they think they want something else, they want to be happy or untraumatized. When they get this, they get something even better. It's just a whole new world, because new perspective is a new world. So it's kind of more than they expected. Yeah, and now maybe Preston can introduce other topic seminars. That's it.
Great, thank you, Julie. Let me engage my webcam. And great. Well, thank you for that introduction, Julie, to your courses, to the program, and for also defining the field that within which we will be working. Are there any questions at this point before I go on to introduce the other seminars that we will be hosting, and also to talk about the project that you're required to complete for the certificate program? I should mention that the classes, so you'll take 2 classes, 2 from Julie, and then you'll select 2 more from the other options, including Keith Faulkner, who has written widely and published many key books. His main focus is on Deleuze, Gilles Deleuze, who, as you may know, is a leading philosopher, or was a leading philosopher, no longer with us, but invented different paradigms within which to think ontologically different. And so that's Keith's class. That's coming up in a. If you look at the website link on the chat, I have that information. If you click on that link and you scroll down just a bit, you can see that Keith's class is going to be in March. Clayton Crockett's class, the breakout, or it's been renamed to Energy, OJPA, and the New Materialism. And Clayton has published widely. He, myself, and Slavoj Žižek edit the book series Insurrections at Columbia University Press. He has published many books and is considered a leading philosopher in the continental tradition. His main research focus is on psychoanalysis and philosophy, and he's getting into tying in energy and psychoanalysis together, thinking the notions of energy. His seminar class will be focused on looking at Lacan's seminar on anxiety and other seminars, and he'll be teaching that course in April. As Julie mentioned, she's going to be teaching What is Love Made Of? That's going to be starting next week. And then following up with that, Child Trauma Love in March and April. I'll be teaching a decolonializing psychoanalytic epistemology course, which will be coming up in March as well. And in addition to Keith Faulkner's class and Clayton Crockett's class, we have Erin Yarby, who is a professor at Brown University. She did her PhD at Columbia University. She'll be teaching on spectral bodies, witches, hysterics, and mediums. That's what she did her PhD in anthropology. So actually her class will be taught this summer. You'll notice that on the page, we have a kind of time frame that we would like to encourage you to abide by. That time frame ends in June. Okay, and that includes completing the 4 seminars and completing a project. What do we mean by a project? I'll talk about that now. The project is something that can be in any genre. It can be in written form, in experimental writing. Remember, as Julie just talked about, a very important aspect of what we try to do here is try to call into question the very notions of what it means to be human, to rethink the categories that solidify themselves in status quo, which become repressive. And so we're trying to challenge that, and being a challenge to that paradigm of repressive thinking embodies itself in different ways. It can embody itself in experimental thinking, which can be non-linear. It can be performance-based, from dance to body movement to film, to different other kinds of different projects. At this point, a project would need to be defined. I will send you information about that in the next week or two. And we're open to different experimentations. That's the key point here. So you complete a project. You'll have to have your project approved by March, and then you can complete the project. And once you complete the project in the 4 seminars, then we issue your certificate. Let me talk briefly about the certificate. The certificates come in 2 parts, or 2 forms, not 2 parts, but 2 forms, of which you can choose one. You can have a PDF sent to you, the certificate that you simply print out yourself, or you can have it mailed to you in post. You will be those of you who have joined the program and have enrolled officially, you've already paid for your certificate in PDF. If you want it sent to you through a stamped, it will be stamped and sent to you. Then you'll have to provide for us the shipping and handling, and that's contingent upon where we send it. If we're going to send it to you in, say, FedEx form, overnight, or regular mail, it depends. The cost will be different depending on where you are in the world, and we would expect you to pay for those costs for that certificate mailed to you. Hope that makes sense. So the seminars themselves come in different lengths. We do teach on weekends, Saturdays or Sundays, around this time. Okay. So we'll have specifics to that, and expect an email in the next couple of days with the specifics for Julie's next class, which I think will start next weekend. Am I right, Julie, about that?
Yeah, we can do it.
Great. Okay, so we'll start next weekend with Julie's first class. The seminars will come in 3 or 4 units. They meet up 3 or 4 times for a lecture and a discussion. Okay, typically that lasts about 1 hour. It can go over 1 hour. It can be a little less than 1 hour, but that's the standard version. Clayton, for example, will be teaching 3 seminar classes or installments. Okay, he's teaching 1 seminar with 3 classes. That's better said. We will always meet in this platform in classroom 1. So those of you who have found us, you just simply save the link, click on the link. The password will remain researcher 505, and the class will remain this one, classroom 1. Okay. And there's no requirement for reading. You're not going to have an examination for each seminar, but you will need to complete the project and complete the classes. You do not have to be present for each class. We strongly encourage you to be present and live, because that's the best learning form. We do record, as you can see here with this class session. We do record the sessions, and we will provide the recordings through email to each of you each week. It takes about a day or 2 to process, so you should be getting an email by Wednesday after the weekend that will give you the recording. So if you can't make it during the weekend, during the live session, you can watch the session on your own time. Okay, so that covers the basics. In